course, I've lost my agenda already. Okay. The Eastham Conservation Commission will hold a hybrid public meeting on Tuesday, May 27th, 2025 at 6 p.m. pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, MGL Chapter 30A, Sections 18 to 25, Open Meeting Law, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Chapter 155 of the Code of the Town of Eastham. This meeting will be broadcast on Public Access Channel 8 and is available on the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov. Please remain mute unless it is your turn to speak, and please let the chair know if you will be recording the meeting. I'm going to take attendance. Janet Benjamins.
Here.
Joanne Cossett.
Here.
Greg Douglas, he just texted me to say
I'm
he's
here.
having a little trouble getting into the meeting. You're here, yay! So,
I'm working on my
Greg is
video.
here. Okay, Mike Harnett.
You look like Kilroy before.
I know you're there, but we can't hear you, Mike.
Here.
Okay, Chuck Wagner. Chuck.
Here.
And Karen Strauss, I am here. Before we start, I'm just going to remind everybody that on June 10th, the Conservation Commission will be holding a public hearing on proposed saltwater dock regulations. That will be at 5:30 p.m. just prior to our regular meeting. The commission will take written comments submitted to the Conservation Office until noon on June 9th, and otherwise will accept comments in person at the meeting. Copies of the proposed regulations are available on the town website conservation page. And now let's see, first up tonight is a request for determination of applicability filed by Loris Sherman Revocable Trust. Applicant proposes to remove existing porch and deck, build a new covered screen porch at property located at 20 Richard Lane, map 21, parcel 062E. And the applicant has requested that the RDA be withdrawn. So if we might just have a motion from someone to accept the withdrawal.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Okay. Joanne?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Next, we have a request for determination of applicability filed by Robert Sheldon. Applicant proposes to install a kayak rack on a deeded right-of-way at property located at 30 Lee Court, map 11, parcel 180. And is the applicant here, and does he wish to
Yes.
say anything?
Apparently in person is not something that's done much, so I'm by myself here. First of all, I need to disclose that I am a member of the town zoning board, and as such, I'm what's called a special town employee, so I can testify in other meetings besides my own.
Oh, in any case, you are allowed to speak for yourself, whether you're on a zoning board or special town employee.
Exactly. But I need to disclose that, that's all. All right, I'm sure you guys got packets. You'll see that there's 5 people on Lee Court, 2 of which have waterfront property on Great Pond. The other 3 of us share a right-of-way from the end of Lee Court down to the pond. Over the last 20 years, we've just stacked our kayaks in piles down there by the waterfront. But we'd like to get a little more civilized, as the town has done over on Great Pond, and install a kayak rack, if you will, for kayaks and supboards for the folks that are there, for the 3 homes. That's the Kennards, the Sheldons, and the Dominics, who have the other 3 homes on Lee Court. Very simple. We're going to use we're projecting, as you probably saw that in your packet, but they're going to be modeled after the kayak racks that are already at Great Pond Beach, if you will. But instead of being portable, as those technically are, although they never get moved, we'd like to embed it in the ground so it's more of a fixed thing. And so we can get it right once instead of having to worry about fooling around with it every year. Very simple, and that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, thank you. How do you plan to embed it into the ground?
Well, again, just digging a hole and sticking it in the ground is my thoughts, but I'm open to ideas if you have better ways of doing it. I don't see it being, rocket science, but on the other hand, we probably need to dig a hole, 3 feet down to secure the racks. And then we would use pressure treated wood, is my thoughts. But again, that's why we're here.
Well, our preference is for non-pressure treated wood, so close to the pond. So I know that some of the commission was out for a site visit earlier today. Does anybody who was on the site visit wish to start off? Greg?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it was a very appropriate thing to do. In fact, I mean, it would actually cover much less land, and it didn't seem like there was any major problems with the vegetation. Looks like a good idea. Again, the question we have is what's it going to be made of, and also how are you going to anchor it?
Well, again, if we embedded it in the ground, gravity would do the job for us. And that was our thought. I understand from Alex that you guys have granted some pressure treated, have granted a couple people permission for pressure treated. I'd really like to do that instead of replacing the verticals every 3 or 4 years, which is what we do otherwise.
Okay, is there any specific pressure treated wood you'd want to be using?
If you have a spec that we need to follow, I'm happy to do that, and I can get that from Alex.
Okay, we definitely don't want to see CCA.
Okay,
wood.
Karen, I can't hear you well,
Sorry,
unfortunately.
let's see. Oh, because my AirPods have turned off again. Hold on. Okay, hear me now?
A little better, but not much. Again, I can get the specs, that information from Alex.
Okay, I think you can hear me better now.
Much better. Good job.
Okay, my AirPods like to turn off occasionally during meetings just to keep everybody on their toes. Yeah, so we generally don't like to see CCA wood, but that's pretty hard to find these days. And because it's a pond, copper is a concern for some of the freshwater wildlife.
No, understood. I mean, the leaching is the issue, of course.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments from the commission? Anything, Alex, anything from you? Oh,
No.
Mike, is your hand up?
Oh, do I? I would say that we looked at it. I didn't have a problem with the rack, but I didn't know it would be trenching. There's a lot of roots in that area.
Well, the good news is that because it's the distance between those is fairly inexact, we can find places where the roots are not prevalent.
Okay, because otherwise I was okay with it.
Janet?
yes. Maybe I missed it, but it didn't say how many kayaks it would hold,
well,
how large it would be.
The town ones have 6. We would do them, we'd model them after the town ones on Great Pond Beach.
So you'd have 6?
Yes, they're 3 on a side.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Alex?
Yeah, I can work with the applicant to find a material that the commission would be in favor of when it comes to the type of wood that's used for the kayak racks. I can also scope out location, the exact location of the racks, prior to install as well.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay. So it looks like, Greg, you had something else?
Yeah, just an idea with respect to not digging up a large area. There are these screw anchors that I've noticed that exist for tents and for other types of surface structures that might be useful here. I'm just throwing it out there. You can actually screw them into the ground on each corner and then tie it down that way.
That's a thought. If I can do some research on that for sure. Would they make them with, say, the 4x4, the 6x6 cup at the top, so we could put them in and then use that as the base?
Yeah, I don't really know, but
Okay.
I know they exist of some form.
Okay. So it sounds like what we want here is a motion to approve with the option either for screw anchors or for trenching with a wood to be determined and location to be determined in consultation with our agent. Does that sound like what I'm hearing from everybody?
Yep.
Okay. So if we might, I'm not done yet. So if we could have a positive 2B and a negative 3 with the conditions I just mentioned.
What she said.
So
Is there a
moved.
second? Okay, is there a second?
Second,
Okay. Joanne,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Janet,
yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Okay, so you should be in touch with Alex.
Will do. Thank you
just
guys
discuss
very
it.
much.
Okay, have a nice night. Okay, next we have a certificate of compliance filed by Stuart Vase for SE 19-1830 for landscaping work and irrigation after the fact at property located at 990 John Thomas Road, map 20, parcel 038. And I know we had given a partial certificate of compliance in the past to allow for some more landscaping work. And now we're back. Is there someone wanting to talk about the work that was done? Stu, do you want to just tell us what's been?
Yeah, so I've been working with Alex, and we purchased about 20 more shrubs based on the order of conditions and the planting areas all around the areas. I got approval from Alex to make, I think, one or two substitutes for the things that weren't available, but were in the same basic type of plant. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we planted all the areas that we put in the order of conditions.
Okay, and I know that the commission was out there for a look today. Anybody want to comment on their observations? Mike?
We thought it looked good. The plants were in, they look good. It was all temporary irrigation. I think it looks good.
Okay. Janet?
I concur with Mike. I can remember when we first went out there quite a while ago and saw the situation, and we won't go into that. I see Stuart is smiling.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah, it's been
it looks so much
years.
better now and so much more in keeping with how it should be done. So thank you.
Yeah, we're still having challenges on the lawn, but that's for a future.
I can
it just
see.
hasn't taken. We got rubs, we got tons of crabgrass, all that. But hey, at least it's we got rid of that old weeping love grass that had lots of ticks in it and everything. So yeah, and we left all the labels on the plants so you could see what we actually planted around the area.
Alex?
Yeah, I also made it out to the property last week and thought the plantings looked great. I would recommend that we issue an ongoing condition for temporary irrigation, for a year to get the plantings established.
Okay.
So those are my recommendations.
So it looks like we need a motion to approve the certificate of compliance with a continuing order for number 32, temporary irrigation for a year.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay. Mike,
yes.
Joanne,
yes,
Chuck,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Okay, you were done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy your plants.
We are. Yeah, it's nice to have a bunch of new shrubs there.
Next we have Next week, we have a notice of intent filed by Sarah Harvey. Applicant proposes to construct a concrete paver block patio, small set of stairs, and minor changes to the driveway at property located at 880 North Sunken Meadow, map 01, parcel 077. And who's here to speak on that? Is that Paul Shea?
Second, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yes, Paul Shea from Independent Environmental Consultants. This property at 88 North Sunken Meadow Road, what the applicant is proposing, it's a landscaping project. They're proposing to build a new patio between two of the existing buildings that are out there. There is also minor construction, just built a set of, I believe it's stone steps into one of the structures that are there on the property. And also the driveway itself, the existing driveway that connects to North Sunken Meadow Road, they'd like to put like almost a turnaround area so that anyone visiting doesn't have to back out onto North Sunken Meadow Road. It's really a safety factor. The project landscaper, Kevin Norton from Norton Landscaping, is at the meeting. If you have any questions, he has more information about the actual patio area. There are some other areas of planting within the 100-foot buffer zone with native species that he's going to be doing. But basically, we're working with all within disturbed footprints within the property. We filed with DEP. They've issued a DEP file number for the project. We also filed with Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program under MESA. They issued an approval letter for this project on May 15th, 2025, with basically no real restrictions at all, just they approved the project as is.
Okay.
Be happy to answer any questions there, but there is a wetland system just, I believe it's to the north of the existing houses, and there's a top of coastal bank located above the wetland. What you'll see on the plan by Paul Sweetser is the 50-foot and 100-foot buffer zone. We're not proposing any alterations within the 50-foot buffer zone. There will be work within the 50 to 100.
Okay, so what I noticed about your application is that the entire property is within the Wellfleet Harbor area of critical environmental concern. And you checked off on your WPA Form 3 that it's not in an ACEC. And then in your narrative and on your site plan, you don't note that there is an ACEC and you don't address the project in terms of our ACEC regulations. And then I was told that when the commission was out for a site visit this morning, nothing on the property was staked out, so they had a hard time figuring out where the work was going to be done. Normally, with this kind of application, everything is staked out on the site before a site visit from the commission.
Yes, I actually talked with the project surveyor last, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday night, that the hearing was coming up. We needed to have the site staked, and he said, I cannot get it done before this meeting. And I'm like, so I talked with Amy at the Conservation Commission this morning. I said, okay, I can't get the site staked. However, the real construction is between the two buildings, and the limit of work line is shown on the plan. We're not in the 50 to 100, and I'm hoping the commission will let us go forward tonight because it's just really such limited work within the property.
Okay, but we'll get back to that with the
Yep.
commissioners who were out at site. But what about the ACEC issue?
I can add that information in. With an ACEC, with the amount of the alterations within the ACEC, we're very close to the existing roadway that's within there. We're staying as far away from the wetlands as possible with this particular project. The impacts on ACEC would be basically very, very minor, if nothing, because the patio is going to have porous areas to allow water to go into the subsurface areas. So we have no runoff. We're not putting down any pervious like areas within the driveway. That's going to be totally pervious conditions. And we're really not changing the footprint of anything within the existing structure in terms of any roof cover or whatever, or additional surface water runoff.
Okay, have you reviewed the commission's ACEC regulations?
I believe I have on a past project. I would have to take another look at them, but I would think that we'd be falling under the umbrella that we got a very quick approval from DEP and actually a incredibly quick approval from Natural Heritage on this one. The entire site's within estimated and priority habitat.
Well, DEP didn't actually give you an approval. They gave you a DEP number. We're the ones who look at it to give you an approval or not. I would like you to look at the ACEC regulations and add the ACEC into the site plan.
Okay.
And
Can do that.
And to consider the ACEC regulations in terms of the work proposed.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to ask anybody who was out at the site visit if you have any comments about whether you were able to adequately view the site without the staking. Janet?
I was not able to adequately view it. It would have been a lot of guesswork. It was a lot of guesswork. And I think if the person couldn't get out to stake it, it would have been appropriate for us to be notified and not to have to go out there this morning and to postpone the meeting until it was staked or is staked.
Going to be an issue.
See, if I could, I spoke with Amy at the office today to let them know about the issue with or this morning at the office to let them know that it hadn't been staked. But she basically said, well, because you're working within two buildings, I would suggest we just go forward with the meeting tonight just to see if the commission has any questions and so forth. But we fully, admit that the surveyor did not get the site staked. And
you didn't stake the driveway either in where you want the turnaround to be.
Right. And if the commission wants, we can get the site staked. We could continue the hearing and get its site staked so you can see a little more clearly what's happening. But again, the whole project set up to stay out of the 50-foot buffer zone, and we're actually working as close to the road as possible. Just so everyone understands, we also have a wetland system on the other side of the road. So we sort of got crisscross wetlands here within this property.
Any other comments from the commission? Joanne?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I reading through your proposal here, it looks pretty good, but I just want to make sure you mentioned crushed stone as the base. So I want to make sure it's crushed stone and not dust. And then also, if you're coming back to us later, if you could add in kind of the estimated gap that you hope to create between the pavers, since we're talking about so many resources. It'd probably be good. I'd appreciate if you specified kind of what you're aiming for in terms of the size of the stones and how much gap you're going to provide, so we have an idea of what the pervious versus impervious surface would be. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe the landscaper is on this hearing. Kevin Norton is Kevin Norton Landscaping. He could probably answer those questions right now for you.
That's okay, but also if you're coming back to us, I'd appreciate it being added to the proposal, just so we have it on record. It'll be on record because it's in the meeting, but good to have a double up so that we have it both places.
Okay, got it.
Anybody else? Alex, anything from you?
Nothing from me. I think, it makes sense what the commission is requesting to get the site staked out and to include the ACEC regulations in the application.
Mike, you had your hand up?
Well, yeah, Alex just covered a lot of it, but I would like more detail on the patio, what the pavers are going to be. And as Joanne said, more detail on the crushed stone. And I do like the turnaround. We had to actually use it, but I'd like, as Janet said, to have it staked out in the field. That's pretty much echoing what everybody else said, but that's it.
Okay.
Okay. So it looks like we need to continue with our next meeting, which is June 10th, be acceptable?
Yes.
Okay, so if we might have a motion to continue to June 10th,
So moved?
and a second, please.
Second?
Okay, Chuck,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Okay, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have continuation of notice of intent filed by Nathan Nickerson and Susan Buckley. Applicant proposes to install a seasonal dock at property located at 30 Adams Way, map 11, parcel 187A. The applicant has requested a continuation to June 10th. Next up is a continuation of notice of intent filed by Christina Phillip. Applicant proposes to raise and replace a single-family dwelling on the same foundation and a septic system upgrade at property located at 155 Ridge Road, map 20, parcel 061. And Daniel?
Yes, good evening, commissioners. This is Dan Ojala, as you stated, from Downcape Engineering. I'm helping Christine and her husband out with the restoration of this burned out, blown out house that's across from their nice little B&B on Bridge Road. And they're hoping to rebuild it. You'll recall we discussed a few different things at the last meeting. I think the general sense was that it was a good project, but you need a little more specificity in the details. I'll share my screen and we'll go over what the changes were. Okay. So I put a little letter in and we'll go through that briefly. The existing conditions, we picked up a couple extra trees that were not shown out towards the 100-foot line. There's a massive 24-inch locust which has grown up into the power lines. It's highly dangerous out here, almost at 100 feet off the wetland. And we've got no choice but to get that down before it takes the line down on the whole road. There's a 20-inch locust here. There's a 12-inch maple that we can stay here. It's a good tree, sturdy, far enough away from the house. There's a 4-inch choke cherry that's leaning at about a 60-degree angle, more than 45 degrees towards the garage, ready to fall down. So that one needs to come down. You noted the oak and the locust, which are almost grown into the house in the back. And then the septic area had 3 or 4. And then there's one other 12-inch locust. And the problem with the locust, although some habitat value, but they're brittle and they throw branches during storms. In Yarmouthport, there was a big one that went down with that last storm that we had, and luckily all they hit was a guardrail. But they're brittle trees, and what we've proposed and you asked for is some replacement trees. So you can see we've introduced eastern red cedars, and we did flag them out in the field. So if any of you went back there, you could see the ones that we had big orange tags on, the ones that would come out. But we're introducing 3 new red maples, which we think will thrive in the shade on the south side here. On the north, which tends to get a little bit more light, we've brought in 2 red cedars. And the applicants are also willing to plant fruit trees out front if you're interested in them, or they may like to do that later, depending on what the appetite of the board is for that. They have some nice cherries across the street, but they provide, good for bees and animals. You also asked us to remove the deck in the back. So we did that. The small deck portion was removed. Again, the 9 trees are flagged and noted on the plan. And again, they include 7 large and dangerous locust trees and that smaller chokecherry tree, which is leaning over the garage rather precipitously. Good news on the grading. I tightened up the grading. I realized we didn't really need to do as much as we showed there, so we're going to do a lesser amount. It was pretty extensive on the south side. We tightened it up to just a few contours changing down there. And
Any way to rebuttal what was happening prior?
Kevin, you're live on the mute. And then again, the side regrading was significantly reduced, and we did note on note 22 that we're going to revegetate the proposed regrading areas, which are somewhat smaller now, with 4 inches of loam and seed with New England erosion control mix. That's a native seed mix cover, and jute netting on any slopes over 10%. So that should tidy that up. So again, deck removed, didn't remove any of the mitigation plantings, got new trees in. And again, we're perfectly willing to plant a couple more fruit trees out front. So if you like it, would love to proceed and get this underway so that the dangerous condition that's out there can be remediated with the roof caving in, and it's generally just a hazard. Thank you for your time, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
So I want to thank you for addressing most of our concerns here. I think there's just one outstanding thing in that we had asked for some kind of delineation for the wetlands on the edge, just so people know not to go past it to do any work.
Okay,
and
sure.
I know we okay.
Yeah, correct. And I'm just looking through my notes too. My draft and missed. It also kind of asked to connect the 2 planting areas, which now that we remove that deck, we can do. What is the pleasure of the commission? Would you like little boulders put there, or a single rail fence, or what's your pleasure?
Well, we usually are good with either something like either of those things.
Okay.
So
All right. Perhaps could we condition it upon approval of a single submission of a plan with a single rail fence that the administrator could approve by any chance? The folks are in a hurry and really wanted to try and get going on this before the high season. They don't want loud noises disturbing their people, so they'd love to get it down quickly if possible.
yeah, I would be okay with that, and I think we'll hear from the rest of the commission. The other concern I have is that some of the locust trees are clearly occupied with cavity nests, and they really can't come down until those nests are vacated.
Okay. All right, we can work with the agent on that to ensure that they're once they're out, we won't cut them till they're out. That'd be a fine condition.
Okay, so now I'm going to open it up to the rest of the commission. Mike?
I would just like to add to the plan the mitigation trees, so in the future we can go out and check them, make sure they're there. I see the ones coming down, I just don't see the new ones. That's all.
Okay, if my screen's still up, they're not the largest symbols in the world, but you've got the 3 maples are just to the south of the garage here, and then to the north we've got the 2 red cedars. So those are indicated, the symbols are somewhat smaller than the ones in the planting schedule, but they are extant on the plan.
Okay.
Is there any way to revisit the 880 Sunken Meadow Drive?
Pardon me, we're in the middle of this hearing. I will be happy to talk to you once we're done. Janet?
Yes, it looks as if they're proposing 5 trees for 9 that they're removing, and they did offer to add some fruit trees. So I would like to have some fruit trees added. And I also have the concern about the active cavities in at least one of the locusts out front. It's very visible. We saw it. It's the locust that also has the tree mushrooms on it. So I am concerned about that. Also, in your statement, you said that there are 7 large and dangerous locust trees. And it appeared to me that several of those so-called dangerous trees are where you want to put the septic system. And I am wondering if the septic system could go on the other side of the house. I am not sure. Instead of having to take down those locust trees that have active cavities. I don't know the sequence to how you would proceed with demolishing the house and taking down the trees. But if you have to wait to take down those 1 or 2 trees, it might be possible to consider putting the septic system on the other side of the house. I should state other side in the front. So as you look at the house from Bridge Road, right now the proposed septic system is on the right. And I am asking if it could be moved to the left, or when you also said you'd like to get moving on this project. So when were you proposing to take the trees down? And if you have to hold off on those locusts, how do we proceed with approving that?
So through the chair,
Mhm.
I would say we looked very carefully at how to best site the leaching field on this one. The ground is a little bit higher, and we're able to achieve almost 100 feet off the wetland in that northeast corner. You can see the edge of the overdig is about 100 feet from the wetland. We're not quite as far on the left-hand side of the driveway. And there's a dirt drive in that area that would pinch us a bit when you go to turn around. So and then again, I don't know if I mentioned, but the topography at 13, contour 13 is over there where it goes down to about 10, where you're talking about. So would need a very significant wall on the south location rather than where we have it now. So for those reasons, I think it would really want to go in the location that we have it. There's also, well, there's abutting wells, but they're not a large factor in this particular case. But yeah, for the topographic and horizontal separation from the wetland, it's really where it wants to be right now. The trees, if you guys are concerned and who isn't about the little critters in the tree, we could have a special condition that the locust tree, be monitored and not taken down until the nest is empty. I don't know what else to say about that, but they'd obviously love to get going and do everything at once. But if the consensus of the commission is that is the way that it ought to go, rather than, if we could, I would just leave it at that. We'll just have to deal with it.
Anything else, Janet?
Yes, I neglected to state that they're also removing it looks like a 20 to 30-foot red cedar that's almost adjacent, that is adjacent to the house. So that would be another tree that had to be taken down. So that would make it a total of 10.
The, you may be right on that. Unfortunately, it's right on the front step and it's over
Yes.
into the house. But we are replanting at least 2 new red cedars, and to your point on the fruit trees, we're happy to put at least 2 nice fruit trees out front. Cherry, apple, whatever you know, whatever, but nice fruit trees.
Usually we ask for a 1-to-1 mitigation. Karen, do you have some thoughts on that?
Well, I actually liked the planting plan.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So, but I'm not opposed to some fruit trees if they'd like to put them out there. And certainly, I think it should be up to them what kind.
So we
So
don't
I
have to ask-
I found that I planted a really nice cherry tree in front of my house 10 years ago, and I have yet to get a single cherry.
Oh.
The wildlife absolutely adores that. They steal my apples. The only thing they don't steal are the figs and the pears.
How kind
So-
of you to feed the wildlife.
So if you want fruit trees, you're gonna have to be willing to share.
No,
the
not
neighborhood.
a problem. We already share a nice cherry across the way and happy to do it. Good for the bees, good for everybody.
Mhm. And the possum particularly likes the apples in the fall. So,
Unfortunately, that has no bearing on that, just because it's a personal.
excuse me, please do not interrupt this meeting, Mr. Norton. Okay, so where are we? Any more questions from the commission? Okay, so it looks like what we can do is give you make a motion to approve with a single rail fence delimiting the wetland area, that the locust trees are not to be removed while they're still occupied by wildlife, that you will add 2 fruit trees of your choice to the front of the house. And I think that was it. Plus we have the, hold on 1 second. I just have to check one more set of notes here. We have the standard special conditions for single family dwellings with landscaping. Have you seen a copy of that?
I don't know that I have, but would be glad to have that incorporated. I'm sure it's reasonable.
Okay. So if we might have such a motion,
So moved.
and is there a second?
Second,
Okay, Janet,
Yes.
Joanne,
yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
and I am a yes. So thank you so much and enjoy your new house.
Appreciate the time, very and consideration. Thank you.
Okay, and we were interrupted with a request that we, if you could drop your screen sharing, please.
Yep. There we go.
And we were interrupted in the middle of that hearing rather rudely with a request that we reconsider 880 North Sunken Meadow. The commission has, I believe, been very clear on what we need, and it's been continued to the next meeting. I will ask the commission if they feel like they want to reopen it or just move it along to the next meeting as we've already voted. Janet?
I do
Okay.
not want to reopen it. I want the property staked so we can see it in place.
Okay, any, Joanne?
Maybe we can ask what the rationale is for reopening it. If it's some sort of emergency matter, we can consider it, but otherwise I would agree with Janet.
Okay, Mr. Norton, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, so I would like to say that, we put a lot of time into this. We have 2 engineers, a surveyor, wetland specialist. I've been in the business 50 years. You have a very, what I would assume is a very, complicit plan as to what we want to do. And I understand that, people have a question about, the perviousness of the patio. Alexander Bates has been out on another property and, he knows that I know my business and I've staked it out very well. I would be happy to provide the board with a profile of the patio, which is going to be obviously very pervious. The joints, the construction,
Mhm.
and I'm happy to provide that. Nobody asked me to do that, but this is a very, very innocuous. We're not going to be, regrading anything. We're just going to be like touching and scraping, and my client wants a patio between the two structures. You can, my credentials, I think, on 27 Long Street are already in the file. You can look at how I do things and what I've done. And my clients just want a very simple lawn for the children to play. The driveway is not going to be reconnoitered very much. We need to turn around for safety reasons. And it's going to be very, very non-invasive.
Okay, and we've told you what we need to do in order to properly review this filing. We need the property to be staked. That's one of our standard conditions before we hold a public hearing, that the property be staked so that when we go out for a site visit, the members of the commission will know exactly where you want everything to go. And then we need to have you address the ACEC regulations, which were, the property was filed saying it was not in the ACEC. It is in the ACEC. We have specific ACEC regulations, and none of that was addressed in the filing. So therefore, we continued the filing so that all of these things could be addressed in time for the next hearing.
Okay, I
If you
certainly,
want to add any additional information about the pavers and so on, I believe Joanne had asked for some additional information, and Mike as well. We would be very happy to review that during the next hearing on June 10th.
okay. Thank you very much for your time, and I will do my due diligence and see what I can between the engineers and the surveyors and what I know as a guy being in the business 50 years. I will do everything I can to try to provide you everything you want.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you for your time.
All right, next up, we have a continuation of notice of intent filed by Cape Holden Realty Trust. Applicant proposes to construct a new family dwelling at property located at 339 Dire Prince Road, map 19, parcel 111, and the applicant has asked to continue this to June 24th. Okay, next up, we have our minutes from May 13th, 2025, and I submitted a number of edits to Amy prior to the meeting. I suppose I should, hold on one sec. I suppose I need to go through that with you all before we approve them. So if you want to look at page 3 of the minute, just a minor change at the bottom of the page. In the last sentence, it said, which they haven't responded, and that's been changed to who hasn't responded. And then on page 4, in the second paragraph, we crossed out in the second line, it says requested a site plan. That's now requested a plan. In the last sentence of that paragraph, it said $100 fine each day until the fence is not removed. It now says until the fence is removed. Next paragraph, it said, so the commission is not going to insert their right, and that's been changed to assert their right. In the 6th paragraph, we also crossed out site plan, and now it just says plan. And then in the next line, it says conditions requested by the commission. We've crossed out to approve the fence and now it's the next thing starts with the representatives have come back with nothing. And then let's see, the second paragraph up from the bottom, We changed giving them more time to remove the fence of, to giving them 2 weeks to remove the fence. And that is all of those changes. Anybody else have any comments on the minutes? Okay, Amy said she'd make those changes, so if nobody has anything else, we might have a motion to approve.
Move that we approve.
And a second, please.
Second,
Okay, Janet,
yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Mike. Mike? Oh. Can't hear you. We can see his mouth moving and it looks like a yes, but we can't hear you. And I'm a yes. Okay. Next is violations. Any updates there? Alex?
Yeah, I also just wanted to mention, I think we need to vote to continue 339 Dyer Prince to to June 24th.
Okay, usually we don't do that if they request the continuance before
Okay.
the meeting.
No problem. For violations, yes, I'll just give the commission a couple updates. As you know, we sent the enforcement order to 150 State Highway. The property owner has until tomorrow to remove the fence, and the fence is not removed. Enforcement starts May 29th with $100 a day fine until the fence is removed, as Karen just mentioned. And to keep it on the commission's radar, as you know, we sent a letter to the property owner of 157 Brownell Road for the property owner to submit deconstruction protocols to the commission by the filing deadline to the June 9th meeting. So that's coming up.
June 10th meeting.
June 10th, excuse me. Thank you. June 10th meeting. So that deadline is next week, I believe. And then, as I mentioned last meeting, the property owners to 70 Log Cabin submitted a notice of intent for the unpermitted work on their property. We did receive that, I believe, last week, so that'll be on future agenda coming up.
All right. Thank you. That seems like quite a few things going on there. Okay, liaison report. Mike?
Nothing for me.
Okay, Janet?
Nothing for me.
Okay, so for me, the Strategic Planning Committee had its public information sessions last week. There was a decent turnout at the first session, and at the second session, one person showed up. But good questions were asked about how the plan will be implemented. There is a public survey available on the town website until June 15th if anybody wants to offer their comments on the strategic plan. The Open Space Committee met last week. We've received a report from the forester who was doing an examination of the property, and he has made a number of suggestions. We probably should be able to share that report with the commission at some point. We finishing up on the last sign for the Sandy Meadow open space. That will be the trailhead sign, and we're still waiting on Natural Heritage to approve our plan for the Sandy Meadow Trail. And I think that's kind of it for that. Education and training updates. There is a pond workshop sponsored by the Board of Health at 5 p.m. on Thursday. That is in the Earl Mountain Room, and I believe is also available on Zoom. It looks like it should be really interesting. So I hope you will find time to attend. Other discussions. I think we're going to need to calendar a discussion of appointing a new representative to the Forest Committee, as it looks like Mike is going to be done with that sooner rather than later. And I think that's kind of it. June 10th is going to be a very busy meeting, I think, because we'll be doing our doc hearing at 5:30. Hillary's going to be presenting on the wastewater system at that meeting, and we've continued a whole bunch of stuff. Anybody have anything they want to say? No? Okay. Thanks, everybody, for all your work.
Thank you.
everyone. Appreciate your
Hi,
time.
everybody.
And we are done before 7 p.m. So if we could have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
And is there a second?
Second,
Okay. Mike,
yes.
Janet,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Good night, Wayne.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.